I used to think love was a fortress, unshakable, eternal, a sanctuary you could always return to. For 9 years, I believed I'd built that with Emily. We met in our early 20s at a quaint bookstore in Portland, both reaching for the same worn copy of The Alchemist. Her laugh broke the silence first, a melody that hooked me instantly, and from that moment, I was hers. We carved out a life together in Seattle, filled with rainy hikes, late-night talks, and dreams we whispered under the stars. I thought we were untouchable, but in one cruel evening, that fortress crumbled, leaving me to sift through the rubble of a love I thought would last forever. Welcome to the channel. I'm Ethan, and this is the story of how Emily broke me, and how I rebuilt myself while she watched her own world fall apart. It was late summer 2024, a sticky evening where the air clung to my skin like a second layer. I just finished a grueling shift as a civil engineer, my hands still dusted with grit from a bridge site, my shoulders heavy with exhaustion. Emily worked as a graphic designer for a trendy tech startup, always surrounded by sleek laptops and even sleeker people, coders, UI experts, the kind who tossed around words like disrupt and pivot with effortless confidence. I adored her creativity, the way she could breathe life into a blank screen and turn it into a story. I handled the practical side of our life, mortgage payments, car maintenance, the endless spreadsheets that kept our little world spinning. She brought the magic, the color, the laughter. At least that's what I thought. The cracks started showing that spring, subtle at first, like hairline fractures in a dam. Emily began staying late at the office, blaming tight deadlines for a new app launch. I didn't mind initially. I'd make her favorite lemon chicken, leaving it on the counter with a note, "Miss you, love you." But she'd come home distracted, barely touching the food, her eyes glued to her phone. She'd giggle at messages she wouldn't share, brushing me off with, "Just a work meme, Ethan." I'd smile, nod, and ignore the growing knot in my gut. She stopped kissing me goodnight with warmth, her lips brushing mine in a perfunctory peck. Our morning coffee chats turned into her rushing through sips while scrolling her phone, her mind elsewhere. I told myself it was stress, a phase, but I felt the ground shifting beneath me, a quiet tremor I couldn't ignore. I'd watch her from across the room, hoping for a glance, a sign she still saw me, but her focus was always elsewhere, her fingers dancing over her phone with a secretive intensity that made my heart sink. Then she started dressing differently. Sharp blazers, bold lipstick, even on days she worked from home. "It's for video calls," she said, catching my raised eyebrow as I watched her apply mascara one morning. "Confidence matters on Zoom." Her voice had an edge, like she was daring me to question her. I let it slide. I trusted her. That was my first mistake. One evening on our couch, the TV flickering with a cooking show, she was curled up, texting furiously. I glanced over, hoping for a smile. Instead, she angled her phone away, her lips twitching into a grin she didn't share. "Everything okay?" I asked casually. She didn't look up. "Yeah, fine," she muttered, her voice clipped. The air felt heavy, like a storm brewing. I tried to reach her, but it was like grasping at smoke. Every attempt slipped through my fingers, leaving me emptier. I'd lie awake at night, replaying her dismissive tone, the way her laughter felt like a secret I wasn't part of, the growing distance that felt like a wall I couldn't climb. By July, the distance was a chasm. She stopped asking about my day, stopped leaving her phone face up. I'd catch her staring into space, a dreamy look on her face, only to snap back when I spoke, as if I'd interrupted something sacred. One night, during a rom-com, I reached for her charger. Her phone buzzed with a notification. Before I could blink, she snatched it away, her voice sharp. "Can you not touch my stuff, Ethan? God." Her tone was venomous, her eyes wide with anger. I mumbled an apology, but the sting lingered, burning in my chest. I felt I'd stumbled too close to a truth she was hiding. I kept replaying that moment, the way her fingers tightened around the phone, the flash of panic in her eyes before it turned to rage. It wasn't just about privacy. It was about secrets, ones she was guarding with a ferocity I'd never seen before. I started noticing other signs. her sudden need for privacy, the way she'd lock her laptop when I walked into the room, the faint scent of cologne on her scarf that wasn't mine. Each clue was a shard of glass in my heart, cutting deeper with every realization. I tried to bridge the gap. I booked us a weekend in the San Juan Islands, ferry rides, whale watching, the works. I planned it meticulously, imagining us laughing on the deck, her hair whipping in the wind, the salt air washing away the tension. I told her over dinner, my voice hopeful, my heart open. She didn't look at me, scrolling her phone. My manager needs me for a last-minute pitch, she said flatly. We'll do it another time, okay? She didn't kiss me goodnight. I lay awake, the sound of her typing in the next room echoing in my ears, a relentless reminder of her absence. I told myself to be patient, but patience doesn't stop a storm. I kept picturing the getaway, the way the sunlight would catch her smile, the way we'd hold hands on the ferry, the way we'd find each other again. But that dream felt farther away with every cold dismissal, every distracted glance. I'd sit alone at the dinner table, the lemon chicken growing cold, the silence between us louder than any argument, my hope fading with each unanswered attempt to reach her. That Thursday evening, everything shattered. I got home at 7:15, my boots heavy with mud, my shoulders aching. The apartment smelled of lavender, music playing softly, an upbeat synth track we used for parties. Dim lights cast shadows. A bottle of rose sat on the counter, 2 glasses, one with her red lipstick. My duffel bag was by the door, zipped tight. Emily stood there, arms crossed, in a tight black dress, her hair swept up, makeup flawless. She looked like a stranger, poised and untouchable, as if she'd already moved on to a life I wasn't part of. What's going on? I whispered, my heart pounding, the room tilting around me, the air thick with a betrayal I could almost taste. I packed your things, Ethan, she said, her tone flat, like she was reciting a script. Find somewhere else to stay. I blinked, my mind racing. What are you talking about? She stepped closer, her lips curling into a cold smile that sent shivers down my spine. I'm done with you. I found someone better. You're nothing to me now. The word nothing hit like a punch, stealing my breath. I laughed, a hollow sound, because it was so cruel it couldn't be real. But her eyes were hard, unyielding. I've moved on, she said, picking up her glass, the rose glinting like a taunt. You should too. She gestured to a trash bag stuffed with my things. Random shirts, sneakers, a book, all discarded like I was. My chest burned, my hands shook, but I didn't yell. I grabbed my keys, my bag, and walked out. Her voice followed me, cold and final. Don't come back. The door clicked shut behind me, the sound echoing like the final nail in the coffin of our life together. I didn't cry that night. I found a cheap motel near the waterfront, stained carpets and a buzzing neon sign. I lay on the lumpy bed, still in my work clothes, staring at the ceiling. My bag spilled open, shirts, a cracked charger, socks she'd thrown in like I was nothing. I kept replaying her words, the way her voice dripped with disdain, the way she'd looked at me like I was an inconvenience. I thought of the day we moved into our apartment, her dancing with a paint roller, splattering my shirt with sage green. We'd laughed so hard we couldn't breathe. That Emily was a ghost now. I didn't sleep. By morning, the pain had hardened into clarity. I wasn't going to let her end my story. I thought of all the times I'd been her rock. Through her dad's illness, through her late-night breakdowns over work, through every storm we'd weathered together. And now I was nothing to her, a footnote in a story she'd rewritten without me. I texted my sister, Ava, at dawn. Can I stay with you? Emily and I are over. She called immediately, but I couldn't talk yet. I needed answers. Ava lived across town, clearing out her yoga nook for me. She handed me chamomile tea and sat across from me. You don't have to say anything, she said softly. But I'm here. I nodded, her kindness almost breaking me. After a silence, I spoke. She said I was nothing. Ava's face tightened, but she didn't interrupt. She replaced me. I added, the words bitter. Ava squeezed my hand. She's a fool, Ethan. She'll see that. I clung to her words, a lifeline in the storm of my emotions, a reminder that I wasn't as alone as I felt. I stayed with Ava for a week, sleeping on a futon, the hum of her humidifier lulling me into fitful sleep. I couldn't go back to the apartment. I called in sick to work, spending hours walking along the waterfront, the salty air stinging my face, the waves crashing against the pier like a mirror to my turmoil. I kept picturing Emily in that dress, pouring wine for someone new, laughing at our life. I felt used, discarded like a tool she'd outgrown. I started digging. A mutual friend, Jess, used to work at Emily's startup. I called her casually. "How's the office?" I asked. Jess hesitated. "Are you and Emily okay?" I pressed gently. "She's been different," Jess admitted. "There's this guy, Ryan, lead developer, drives a Tesla, always showing off. They've been close." My stomach twisted. "Is he single?" I asked. "Separated," Jess said. "Rumor is, he left his wife for someone at work." I thanked her and hung up. Ryan. Her better. The name burned in my mind, a bitter confirmation of the betrayal I'd sensed all along, each piece of the puzzle a fresh wound. I checked Emily's social media that night, my hands trembling. Her likes told a story, tags at rooftop bars, nights out she'd never mentioned. In a group shot at a tech mixer, she was leaning into a guy with slick hair, his hand on her lower back, possessive. That was him. She'd planned this while I was budgeting our groceries, fixing her laptop. I sat on Ava's futon, my resolve stealing. I remembered the nights I'd stayed up helping her with her portfolio, the way I'd driven across town at 2 a.m. to pick her up from a bar, the way I'd held her when her dad got sick. She'd thrown it all away for a guy with a flashy car and a smirk. I wasn't going to confront her. I was going to rebuild, on my terms, to prove to myself that I was more than the nothing she'd called me. Time moves strangely after you've been gutted. The first weeks were agony, every memory a knife. I'd wake up reaching for her, only to remember she was gone. But slowly the fog lifted. I found a studio in Capitol Hill, just a bed, a desk, and a window with a city view. I bought a rug, a coffee maker, a fern I named Sage, a quiet reclaiming. I started running every morning, the pavement a steady rhythm to quiet my mind. I sketched again, bridges and buildings, rediscovering a piece of myself Emily had mocked. Each stroke of the pencil felt like a small victory, a reclaiming of the creativity she'd dismissed as impractical, a way to rebuild the confidence she'd shattered. I kept tabs on Emily through Jess. Ryan wasn't the golden boy she'd thought. Reckless, missing deadlines, flirting with interns. The startup loved his charm at first, but whispers of his unreliability grew. One night, Ava and I were at a dive bar, sharing fries. She nodded toward the door. "Isn't that her?" Emily walked in, head down, in jeans and a hoodie, no makeup, no blazer. Ryan trailed behind, his grip tight on her arm, his voice sharp. She yanked free, her face flushed, and stormed out. He followed, cursing. I didn't move. Ava squeezed my hand. "She's not your problem anymore," she said. I nodded, feeling the air shift. Her perfect life was fraying, and I could almost taste the justice in the air. A quiet vindication that fueled my resolve to keep moving forward. I'd love to hear from you, dear viewers. Have you ever watched someone's choices catch up with them? How did it feel to see their facade crack? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm reading everyone. A month later, Jess texted me a memo. Ryan was fired for conduct violations after a complaint from a junior designer. His affair with Emily was a liability. Emily was sidelined, moved to a dead-end role, her name scrubbed from promos. Colleagues gossiped about her poor judgment. Jess said she looked hollow, her laugh gone, her eyes red from silent tears, a shadow of the vibrant woman I'd once loved. Then Emily reached out. One Tuesday night, as I sketched with a glass of bourbon, my phone buzzed. "Ethan, can we talk?" I didn't reply, my heart racing. The next day, another text. "I owe you an explanation." Then a voice note. I waited hours before playing it. Her voice was small, broken. "I messed up, Ethan. I thought I wanted something else. But I was wrong. I miss you. I miss us. I set the phone down, my jaw tight. She missed us, the us I'd been while she was with Ryan. I didn't owe her closure, and I wasn't about to give her the satisfaction of my response. Her messages kept coming daily, then hourly. I still think about that hike in Olympic Park. One read, "The way you kissed me in the rain." I remembered that day. The rain soaking us, our laughter, my kiss. But she'd tainted it, turned it into a manipulative plea. I left her on read, my silence a shield against her desperation. Then she showed up at my door, uninvited, a specter from a past I was trying to bury. It was pouring, the kind of Seattle rain we used to love. I opened the door, and there she was, drenched, her eyes glassy with tears. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice trembling. I stepped aside, letting her decide. She stepped in, dripping onto my rug, her presence an intrusion. "You look good," she said softly, her eyes scanning my studio, my desk, my sketches, the fern in the corner. I nodded, arms crossed, keeping my distance. She took a shaky breath, her voice barely holding together. I was wrong. Ryan was a fantasy. He was nothing. I threw away the best thing I had, you. Her voice broke, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I miss how safe I felt with you. I didn't know how rare that was until it was gone." I let her words hang, the silence heavy, a weight I let her feel. "You didn't just leave, Emily," I said, my voice steady, though my heart pounded with the memory of her betrayal. "You said I was nothing. You chose this." She sobbed, her shoulders shaking, her hands covering her face as if she could hide from the truth. "You humiliated me, for a guy who didn't even stay. And now you want me to fix it." She shook her head, her voice a whisper. "No, I just needed you to know I'm sorry." I nodded, my jaw tight, my eyes burning with unshed tears. "I know, but that doesn't change what you did." She stood there a moment longer, her breath hitching, her eyes searching mine for forgiveness I couldn't give. Then she turned to the door, her steps slow, her hand lingering on the knob. Just before she left, she looked back, her face a map of regret. "You were the best part of me," she said, her voice breaking. I met her gaze, my voice steady, final. "I know." And she was gone, the door closing softly behind her, sealing the end of us. Emily didn't reach out again. In that silence I found peace. Life didn't snap back into place. I still paused at the bookstore where we met, her laugh echoing in my mind. But I let go. I wasn't nothing, I was enough. I threw myself into work, landing a lead role on a bridge project. I hiked again, volunteered at a youth center, teaching kids to sketch, their laughter healing me. 6 months later, I saw her at an art fair in Pioneer Square. She was alone, her dress simple, no Ryan. She saw me, her eyes softening into a sad smile. I nodded, a polite acknowledgement of a past we'd outgrown. Just later said Emily had quit the startup, moved to a smaller town. I didn't care. My life was mine, new friends, new sketches, a new rhythm. I walked home, the air crisp with fall. I passed a flower stand and thought of buying daisies, her favorite. Then I smiled and kept walking. I'd filled the space she left with myself, with peace, with purpose. She thought I was nothing, but I proved her wrong. I rebuilt everything she tore down, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. Dear viewers, have you ever turned heartbreak into something beautiful? Tell me your stories in the comments. I'd love to hear how you found your strength. And if this story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe to Cheating Stories Diary for more tales of betrayal and triumph. Let's keep this community growing, together.